Greetings everyone and welcome back. My name is Alfred and in this tutorial we're going to discuss about the C# syntax. So let's get started and see how the syntax is in C# programming language. So on our screen, this is the system that we created, or this is the application that we created in our last video. And as you can see, there is some code on our screen. So this is the code that we're going to see. It's syntax. It's mainly a class which prints a hello world string on our console, just the way we did in the last video. All right, and we're going to see some of the parts of this code. So let's begin. To start with, we can see that we have a using system as our first line of the code. And what this means, it means that we can use classes from the system namespace. Don't worry about the namespace for now. We'll get into details when we come to the namespace as a topic of this course. All right. So what the using statement here means is that we can use the classes defined in the system namespace. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and see the second part. And the second part, we can see that it's a blank line between the using statement and the namespace line here. We can see that we have a blank line. And in C#, we say that it ignores whitespace. So blank line is considered as a whitespace. But we say, however, multiple lines makes the code more readable. So if you have a blank space or white space on your code, to make your code readable. But just note that to just have a reasonable space, not a very a big space between your code. All right. So that's the blank line or white space, and C# ignores all the white spaces in the code. All right. So let's go on next, and the next is the namespace here, which we have a name for it, and we just call it hello world. So the namespace is used to organize our code and is container for classes and other namespaces. So what this one basically means is that it's a namespace that we use to organize our code. So we put multiple classes in the same namespace, and we can also have a namespace inside another namespaces. All right. So we organize our classes in a namespace, and then we can refer to that namespace from another class, and we can use the code in the classes in the same namespace. Like the one we have here and the one we have right here is the hello world namespace. So if we would want to use this class here, the class that we're calling program, in another class, what we can do is just to refer to the hello world. So it will be like using hello world now. And by doing that, it means now we can reach to the class program that we defined here. All right. So that's the namespace part of this code. So let's go to the next one, and the next one is the curly braces. And as you can see, we have a starting curly brace, and we can see it's an opening curly brace bracket, and we still have a closing one. So if you check the first ones, they are opening, and the last three, they are closing curly braces. And what we say that the curly braces marks the beginning and the end of a block of code. So each block of code in C# will be enclosed within the curly braces, and we have the opening curly brace and the closing curly brace. All right. So these are the containers that will contain a block of code in C# application. All right. So let's go ahead and see another one, and we have the class itself here. As you can see, we have a class, and this class we call it program. All right. So and what we can say, it's a container for data and methods. We can say that every line of code that runs inside the C# application must be inside a class. So in C#, because we are using the OOP, so we say that every code will reside inside a class. Right? So a class acts as a container for the data, methods, and all the other code that resides inside the C# application. All right. So that's our class definition right here. So let's go ahead and see another thing. And as you can see here, we have a static void method. And the name of this method is main. What it means that the main method of a C# application is the entry point of that application. So whenever the application runs, this is the method that boots up the application. All right. So every C# application or every C# module should have a single main method called main. Right. So every time we start our application, this is the method that runs in the first boot of that application. All right. So it's the main method inside the program class of our application. So let's continue. And one other thing we can see is the console.writeLine, and then we have here hello world, and this is what it's gonna be written on our console. So we can say that the writeLine here is the method that is used to output of print text on our console. For example, now this is a console application, and if we write console.writeLine, it means that it's gonna write the string that it's passed in inside the writeLine method, and for now this string is hello world, and that's what it's gonna print, and that's what we printed in our previous class or in our previous video. All right, so let's see some of the notes, and we can say that every C# statement ends with a semicolon. And as you can see, for example, if we have a statement, for now we only have one statement inside our application, and that statement is console.writeLine and hello world. And as you can see, we have a semicolon just after the printing of the hello world. All right, so that's actually a point to note that we always have to tokenize our statements and make sure that they end with a semicolon. Another thing to note in C# is case sensitive. That, for example, if we have a program with capital P and a program with small p, it means that those are two different things. So case sensitive means that whatever is in caps, or the first letter is capital and another one is a small letter, it means that those two things would be referring to two different things. All right. So we're going to stop here for the C# syntax. Thank you very much for being with me on this one. I'll see you in the next one.